Moving on to the cultural aspects of the show, both Breaking Bad and The Sopranos portray the concept of hegemonic masculinity that becomes justified through economic and social means. Selectively, both shows use money to rationalize their roles in the crime world, emphasizing the desire to be self-reliant and patriarchal, fending for the family and supporting their means of living as the designated quote-unquote man of the house. To begin, let's look at Breaking Bad's portrayal of this idea. Originally produced in 2008 and set from 2008 to 2010 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Breaking Bad arises amid a bad economic recession, the longest witnessed in the U.S. since World War II. Because of this, there are many not-so-subtle hints that display the White family is struggling to support themselves financially.
You wake up early, and then you get to be the first person in the shower.
I have an idea. How about buy a new hot water heater? How's that idea? For the billionth time.
Having listened to his family talk about buying things beyond their means while celebrating his birthday is a huge ego blow to Walter, who is desperate to prove himself as a man of the house and legitimize his patriarchal power. In the same fashion, Walter feels emasculated by his wife when she is able to make her own money through selling thrifted pieces online, and again when the concept of making money has even creeped into their more intimate moments.
Keep it going. Yes! 56! Oh.
The issue of money consuming a family, and specifically a man's main focus, is not a new trope, and is made obvious by the constant reminders that Walt is failing to make enough money to support his family. Matters are only made worse when Walter is diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer, in which he only has a couple years to live. At this point, Walter recognizes that he has no money to pay for his treatment or leave to his family, and the show makes commentary on economic disparity and poor U.S. healthcare, and how that affects the desperation of people going through it. Rather than talking about it with his wife, however, Walter suppresses his feelings about the news and decides to enter the drug empire. According to a film critic article by David Maeda, on two masculine levels, Walt reclaims characteristics that viewers respect within a patriarchal society. 1. He eventually earns more than enough money to provide for his family. And 2. He holds so much power that he overrides virtually anyone who gets in his way, and does so very decisively, often violently. In a way, Walter's descent into the drug kingpin persona emphasizes his battle against his masculinity, where he must prove that he has what it takes to support his family. He is able to channel the violence that his new job entails into the anger of not feeling worthy enough. This masking of deep feelings with anger and violence is a common trope in hegemonic masculinity, emphasizing a man's inability to cope with feelings of inadequacy and inability to make enough money. Turning over to The Sopranos, life is a little different economically. While Breaking Bad is set during a time of serious recession, The Sopranos is set in the late 1990s, a time of booming economy. By the start of the show, it is made known that Tony and his family are already extremely well off, living in a mansion and driving nice cars. While it cannot be said for sure what Tony's life looked like before his admission into the mafia, one can assume that it was certainly not as lavish as it is now. In a similar fashion to Breaking Bad, Tony feels obligated to follow a life of crime in order to feel validated and important within his family unit. He, like Walter, is under the impression that the man of the house is in charge of joining the labor movement, while the women are subject to staying at home and caring for the family. Tony differs in some ways from Walter, however, because while Walter is fighting to make enough money to support his family before his inevitable death, Tony is working to upkeep the luxurious lifestyle that he's built for himself and his children. In both cases of Breaking Bad and The Sopranos, there is a similar trope of double lives that both men exhibit, which again ties to the economic factors surrounding the toxic hegemonic masculinity that they portray. Walter's occupation before joining the drug world is a high school chemistry teacher, where it is obvious that while he is passionate about his work, his students are extremely dismissive.
It is growth, then decay, then transformation. It is fascinating, really.
For Tony, his mob organization is masked behind straw companies and hidden ownerships, and when asked what he does for a living by his therapist, Tony answers,
Waste management consultant.
In both cases, Tony and Walter live double lives, one of which is very unrewarding and degrading, and the other which is considered masculine and macho. One interesting note is that both teaching and waste management are extremely important in a society, yet are undervalued and essentially come with emasculation, forcing the two men to put on a facade and act tough. This concept relates to hegemonic masculinity by essentially asking both men to cover their true feelings of self-worth by anger, violence, and power. With that being said, it can be argued that neither Tony Soprano nor Walter White are really at fault for their emulation of toxic masculinity regarding money making, as society itself has long pushed the notion that men should be in charge of funding their home and family, while the women stay at home and look after kids. This owes much to the explanation of why both men are able to commit such heinous crimes and live such dangerous double lives, as they both become self-justified in their sacrifice of family over what's morally right.